Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas. I'm Murray Briel.
And I'm Heidi Henry, coming to you from our studio at the edge of the Great Red Divide.
Before we start to unravel our mystery and tie up some loose ends, please, if you like what we do, like us, subscribe, share. I guess the cool kids say smash that button, or YouTubers say that, so it helps us. You can find us anywhere on social media or where you get your favorite podcasts at
Heartland Mamas, MAMAS.com.
So today we are tying up some of our conversations from the past and hopefully unraveling a bit of a mystery. And that is, we know we're in Iran. We know that the federal courts are stacked. We know that the Justice Department is acting as a
erratically
private attorney for the president.
Yes.
So that leads us closer and closer to a non-democratic state. And we need to know how we got there. And boy, is it a rabbit hole.
We started this episode trying to figure out how Trump gets the people he surrounds himself with. So when we were doing our research, we found that a lot of the people in Trump's cabinet have deep ties to the Federalist Society, deep ties to the
Koch brothers.
To the Koch brothers and to the industrial war complex. Those are very scary things. And those things also have led us to for these people to show that they will do anything in their power to protect the President of the United States from anybody, from any accountability.
So one of the things that I read, one of the accounts, was that Pompeo had talked multiple times to the president about taking this nuclear option with Soleimani before. He had discussed it with him in the past. Now, that has sort of been his agenda, and we're going to talk a little bit about his history and why he likes this. But what I found interesting is that he was able to manipulate Trump. And if we could get that message out there to Trump and let him know he's being played or think he's being played, we might be able to push Pompeo. But what would he replace him with? Who is left? Oh, sweet Jesus, we are all screwed.
Satan?
Satan? Remember the church lady from
That's
Saturday
what
Night?
exactly where my head went.
Satan?
I'm like, who else could we get? Because we've got Bill Barr, Mitch McConnell, and Mike Pompeo.
Sweet Jesus.
Where else are we going to go except
There's not
Satan?
much lower.
I mean,
I do have a hand cart ready to go. Maybe I can try to ferry it down and see if I can check if he's busy or not.
Honest to God, when we were doing our backstory on today, when we were doing our digging, I said to Murray, for the last 5 years, I've been going, WTF, but not saying WTF, over and over again, because how the hell did we get here? Well, let me tell you, the manipulation of our democratically elected leaders and the antiquated electoral system, college, has gotten us to the point.
Greed,
Corporate
capitalism, and mercenary democracy have led us to where we are.
Mercenaries for capitalism.
Capitalistic mercenaries.
We've coined that phrase. We're trying to figure out the
right way to say
syntax.
it. But yeah, that's ours.
Let's talk about Mike Pompeo because,
Yeah, so let's go back and talk a little bit about Mike Pompeo.
I took a trip to Kansas. Do you know?
Yes,
in September.
Yes. I
Home
know.
of Mike
We talked
Pompeo.
about your trip.
Yeah. But the thing about anybody in Kansas is somehow they are all linked back to the Koch brothers, Koch Industries, or one of their subsidies.
And we did talk about this.
We did talk about that.
We had an episode where the Koch brothers basically control Kansas.
They do.
And they control the legislation in Kansas.
Right.
And so that's why Kansas is nicely held tightly in red. Now,
why
the
they
Koch
didn't
brothers
get Medicaid expansion and people are dying from lack of health care in Kansas.
are religious right.
Yes.
They're very conservative, old school.
Doomsday condominiums being built for wealthy people in Kansas. Seriously.
Yeah. So part of the military-industrial complex
Is in
big
Kansas.
money, big donor, controls a lot. So,
Oil, military. Kansas is the hotbed for all of this. So Mike Pompeo comes out of that
cesspool.
That cesspool.
Oh, that political cesspool. Remember, the Koch brothers control the political system in Kansas.
It's only one brother now.
Because the other one died. They control the local government. They
Where do you think you went,
the
Murray?
county government. That would be an interesting question. They control the state level, and
Yeah.
they control who gets elected at the federal level.
Absolutely.
They control policy. So we have to remember he chewed his teeth on that sort of a mentality.
Well,
he came up in that.
In 1998, after he gets out of the military, he buys 3 aircraft part manufacturing companies with a 2% investment from the Koch brothers and money from Bain Capital.
Bain Capital?
Yes. So here's a guy that's just, retired military, and all of a sudden he's in operating above his pay grade, which I say about a lot of people associated with Trump. So he sold those aircraft company part manufacturers in 2006 to a company with deep ties to Raytheon and Boeing. Also in the news a lot lately. He went on ahead to work for the Koch brothers after that.
Remember that company name, Raytheon.
Raytheon is...
Remember it. It'll come back later on in the show.
Raytheon is one of those companies that, seriously, as an American, I wish we'd never had, because it's only done dastardly things.
Countless of them. Go ahead, keep going.
Well, he's one of them. So so after that, he went to work for the Koch brothers and at Century International, and in 2010 he won a Kansas seat, backed by the Koch brothers, backed by the Tea Party, which, remember, the Tea Party was started by the Koch brothers.
Do you remember the good old days of the Tea Party?
Taxed enough already?
I'm sorry. This is like...
what a joke.
This needs to go in a time capsule, because I can't believe these words are coming out of my mouth, but I could handle the batshit banana pants of the Tea Party. I could deal with them better than I can this level of incompetent, arrogant, batshit shenanigans.
Well,
I can't.
So
it's giving me the vapors, Lindsey Graham, Lindsey Fingers Graham. I got the vapors just like you. Well, sorry, I'm feeling goofy tonight. It
really is.
It's been a lot of research and a lot of rabbit holes and talking to a lot of people. So
the problem with doing an investigative piece on Mike Pompeo is there's so many dark, deep recesses that are stinky and gross. After a while, you go, oh my God, how the hell does this guy get in our government? And so after he wins this state seat in 2010, he just goes about and does whatever the Tea Party wants him to do, because he came in on the coattails of the Tea Party. He is a Tea Party, drum banging kind of a guy.
Is a Tea Partier called a teabagger?
Okay, stop it. You really are feeling randy tonight. Okay, so 2017, without any international experience, really, he became the head of the CIA under Trump. Okay, so that now we thought being associated with the Tea Party and the Koch brothers and Raytheon was bad. Now, Mike Pompeo gets to be associated with not only the Koch brothers, but the Saudis, King bin Salman, Erdogan of Turkey.
Hey, didn't he meet with King Saddam Alaman after Khashoggi?
Yes.
Right? They met privately, right?
Yeah, after they cut, so they could cut this guy up with the bone saw.
Anyone else needing a flowchart at this point?
Okay, so he's already part of the industrial war complex. He's friends with the people in North Korea. He cast aspersions on the investigation about the Russian interference in the 2016 election.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah,
he seriously did some.
And who is Mike Pompeo now to the Trump administration? Come on, who is he now? What does he do now?
Chief Fluffer.
Yep. Okay, she's really silly today. So this man now has...
It's his personal fluffer. Actually, I think it's his handler. That's another question we come up with, is who's pulling the strings here? It's not
his
Trump.
handler is McConnell. Handler's McConnell.
I don't think McConnell is.
Well, here's the big problem with, because our episode we did just before this, and if you haven't watched the one on war, be sure and go back and watch it, where we talk about mercenaries for capitalism and the fact that we haven't won a war since 1945. With the people Trump is surrounding himself with, they are all tied to this industrial war complex, which is insatiable, which keeps us from having health care for everybody, which keeps us from having a fair taxing system, which keeps us from having education, properly funded education, and so on and so forth, and on and on and on. So we need to make sure that we understand that the ties to the industrial war complex are really the huge issue here.
And to conservative groups, such as the Federalist Society.
Well,
such as, oh, sweetheart, I cannot believe that we did not mention this one.
okay.
Our good old-fashioned friends at, why is it slipping from me? My brain just...
Well, I wanted to tell you, Marie, if any of you are familiar with Mel Gibson, who had a rather catastrophic meltdown, public meltdown, a few different times based on his religion, which is an ultra-conservative form of Roman Catholicism, that William Barr and Mike Pompeo and several of the other people tied to the Trump administration are part of this ultra-conservative Roman Catholic piece of faith.
And boy, somehow the Roman Catholic conservatives and the evangelical conservatives can get on the same page.
Usually they don't.
Do we remember the Heritage Foundation?
Yes.
Guess who had a big part of the Heritage Foundation? Was someone else who he surrounds himself with.
Oh, do tell, Murray. Do tell.
Okay. So, you have this guy, and he is particularly in favor of destroying Iran. It's kind of his personal mission.
You have to understand, Mike Pompeo and William Barr, being part of this ultra-conservative Roman Catholic sect, believe that they can bring about the end of times. So don't think that we're here on accident. We're here until they decide that they're going to try to bring about end of times. That's part of that.
The family.
Yeah, The Family. I haven't watched it yet. I don't watch TV, so.
So we know he has these two. One is remaking the courts in his image, acting as a defense attorney for the president. We know there isn't any personal loyalties there because they didn't know each other before he became president. Mm-hmm. There wasn't, I'm sure they have close personal relationships now because they're all in it up to their necks. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't a trusted advisor of his from the past.
Right.
So how did they get in those spots, and who is telling them to pull those strings? I do not believe. Maybe Pompeo. Maybe he is the one pulling the foreign policy strings. But I think so many other things.
Yeah, like?
Are higher up. I just don't know whose agenda is he serving because he doesn't have his own agenda. And everyone knows how to manipulate him. We were watching a news conference with the president of Greece. Mm. And it was when he was going off about this, Lord only knows, I think it was the bombing and retaliation and in front of another leader at a presser. Yeah. And the other leader comes out and says, "Oh, thank you, Mr. President. The people of Greece know how much you love us and how you will give us time to invest and repay those loans." He put it out there. He manipulated the president on TV. He's like, of course, absolutely. Yeah, that's a foreign leader, a friendly foreign leader manipulated him on national TV. Holy shitballs. The guy is not smart enough to pull this off. We all know he doesn't think ahead.
Marie, I'm just thinking about how low you have to feel about yourself to kiss Trump's ass on public and national television. I just could never do it.
How low do you have to feel about yourself?
Yeah.
How compromised are you?
Well, isn't this how we got to Ukraine?
How greedy are you? What is your ultimate motivation?
Well, and if I were Greece, I'd be very concerned right now because Turkey has come at them before. They've got historical issues. But
it was just interesting to see in a press conference a foreign leader manipulate Trump into a policy item they talked about in private. That was brilliant. I'm sorry. Way to go. Good job, Grace. Shows how stupid our president is. So, beside those guys, there's a couple of other folks that are in Trump's inner circle that we don't really hear a lot about and that we don't really know a lot about. But they're folks we should definitely keep an eye on.
And who's next? Because I did the whole thing on Mike Pompeo and how much I just love him.
Okay, so do you remember when we talked about that little company? Oh, sugar. Was it Raytheon?
Raytheon.
Oh, no. Are you kidding me? Yeah, so this little feller is Mark Esper. and he is the Secretary of Defense. So he's an odd little creature in the Trump world. You have so many that kiss his butt on a regular basis. Yet Esper has challenged what the president has said, contradicted the president on different occasions. It started with the transgender. He contradicted the president. That was Miley. He contradicted the president just yesterday, saying that that he was not aware of 4 embassies.
There was no imminent threat. There was absolutely zero evidence of imminent threat in Iran, period. There was no reason for us to take out their Joint Chief of Staff guy, General.
Esper has been in in many different administrations. Mm-hmm. He was the Chief of Staff at the Heritage Foundation.
Here we go again.
Yes.
Let's make a list.
Before, he was a senior staffer for the Senate Governor Affairs Committee and Foreign Relations Committee.
Uh-huh.
He was a policy advisor to Senator Chuck Hagel. And he was in George Bush's administration.
Oh, yippee.
Yeah, he was also the executive vice president at Aerospace Industry Association.
Oh, part of the industrial war complex.
Yeah. Most definitely.
It's funny how this is all tied together. All of this is tied together with industrial war complex.
Greed, capitalism.
Heritage Foundation, Federalist Society, CPAC. It's exhausting. And when we were putting this show together, it was just like, oh my gosh, I would tell Murray, I've fallen down another rabbit hole.
So he, not only was he with the aerospace industry, but then he also, like we had mentioned, Raytheon. I wanted to make sure I got it right, and I did. So it was, he was there for 7 years
at Raytheon
as a professional lobbyist. After all the contacts he'd made, working in the senator's office, working in different administrations.
Yeah.
He left and became a lobbyist for a huge war machine.
Yeah, yeah.
But yet this guy will stand up to Trump on issues or contradict the president. And we saw what happened to the national weather guy who contradicted the president about our national safety, people in states panicking. He got canned. So here's the Department of Defense. At least he's trying. Now, I'm not completely sure he's trying.
Yeah.
But he gives an illusion that he is.
Yeah.
Maybe he's the grown-up in the room.
I don't know. I think it's the guy that was making all the faces behind Trump.
Okay, so I encourage you, we'll put a little clip of this underneath.
We have to? Because you'd have to listen to Trump talk.
Right. But if it just... Oh, yeah, you kind of need to know what he's saying to watch the guy's expressions. This is General Mark Miley. General Mark Miley is a career service man. He's an officer. Of course he is. He grew up in Massachusetts. He wanted to go into the military academy. His father said, no, you have to go to Princeton. So we know what kind of background he comes from, right?
Yeah.
You have to go to Princeton first. But he has been involved in countless conflict situations.
And who is he now, Murray?
He is now the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Yay.
Which is a little surprising because there was another couple of folks that Trump jumped in order to give him that position. And people who know him thought it was interesting. Not that he hadn't risen up the ranks, but he was never...
Unlike Pompeo, who really isn't a job way over his pay grade.
They have to show up at all of the affairs and the functions, and he wasn't one to work an angle to get a promotion, is what the reports have said about him. He understands combat. And yet he has this history of being a pretty upstanding guy in situations that have...
So Murray and I were watching one of Trump's last pressers when he was talking about the missile strike from Iran into the desert sand next to one of our bases. And we're watching this man suck in his lips. He lost his lips at some point. His shoulders rose up. He looked very angry. His eyes were going back and forth. And he was obviously not... Either he's a real shifty guy, or he was really seriously upset with what Trump was saying.
But if you look at videos of him in the past, when he's addressed crowds, when he's been at press conferences, before becoming Trump's chair of the Chiefs of Staff, he had a more stoic look. He had a more confident yet relaxed. And if you watch his body language in all of the pressers where the military is, he's right behind Trump. His face, his body language, he's staying stoic, but you see his eyes dart to the side. You see his breathing increase. You see his jaw clench. And at first, I really looked at it and was like, this guy is expressing, holy shit, he just said that. Holy shit, he just said that. And the good part of me wanted to say, yay, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's doing this. And then I thought to myself, well, let's be a little more realistic about it. And it could be that he's thinking, holy shit, we're going to get caught. Holy shit, we're going to get caught. So there is definitely, I really encourage you to spend 3 minutes just listening to Trump, but focus on this guy.
It's over his left shoulder.
I just am not sure. I feel like he and Esper might be some sort of help in navigating the shit show that we are in. But I have no faith.
I have no faith in it either.
Yeah,
so let's wrap it up with William Barr, because I think he's the most despicable of them all, next to Mitch McConnell. But William Barr, who is our AG, and the Attorney General is supposed to be the attorney for the United States of America. He's supposed to be a defender of the Constitution. Yet he's told the world that he is the legal advisor to President Trump. So he has taken his position and changed the meaning of the position to be the defender of the president against the country. Now, how is this problematic? This is problematic because he's changing the roles as defined in the Constitution. He has taken a stand all along, which is the Federalist Society stand, that the president really is an omnipotent person, that
they are not co-equal branches of government.
No, that the president has the ultimate authority and doesn't have to respond to subpoenas. He can put us into a constitutional crisis like he has.
And they will tout that they are constitutionalists, but their goal is to manipulate the Constitution to serve their ends.
Barr champions that the president has the right to resist congressional oversight.
Absolutely.
He puts the checks and balances of the country, of the Constitution, of the framers in jeopardy. He puts our democracy in jeopardy.
Yes, he does. He's gone after... he has gone on his own witch hunts after people at the behest of the president, which is not what the office is about.
No, and we really can't have that, because that puts us back like Hitler had the SS.
And here's the thing. He despises liberals. He despises Democrats. I'm not kidding.
I know he does.
He despises.
Reading his rhetoric.
His every moral fiber of his being screams when he sees anything to do. He spoke at Notre Dame. He's actually, the American Bar Association is actually suing Barr to see if they can't get him reprimanded or disbarred because of what he said at Notre Dame when he went to speak in November.
So, and he spoke at the Federalist Society right around the same time. He blames all the ills of the world. He blames...
No joke. Straight up. I got a quote. Keep going.
Okay. He blames all the ills of the world, whether it be drug abuse, whether it be abortion, whether it be transgender rights, whether it be anything, on progressive ideology, on forward thinking. He blames the media. He blames social media. He blames Hollywood for...
Oh, he does. Oh my goodness, I'll find it.
And here's the thing with that, is that it's the same rhetoric that all of us that lived through the 60s, like myself, had heard used against the Vietnam War. Now, the Vietnam War was wrong. We shouldn't have been there. We had no business being there. And we covered that in our previous episode called War, so look that up. Again, another reference to that one. But here's where he brings that rhetoric back up again and says we can't, all of this stuff. Anytime anybody opposes what the president's direction is, it's because they've been schooled on social media and by Hollywood and by the liberals and the progressives and the Democrats to think that way. No, Bill Barr, you're wrong. This is just how people think and feel. They're tired of being sent to war all the time. They're tired of not having any checks or balance on this president. So, he's got a long history as the fixer. Fixer for the Republican Party. So what he does is he takes the Constitution and he twists and turns the words to fit the narrative. So he is the one that kept Reagan from being impeached for Iran-Contra. And if you don't know what Iran-Contra is, shame on you. You need to study that because Ronald Reagan is a criminal and should have been impeached. He should have been removed from office. He was an advisor to George H.W. Bush. And the thing with that is that H.W. Bush should have been impeached because he brought us to war on a lie. There were no weapons of mass destruction, and he knew that. Colin Powell also knew that. And William Barr twisted and turned the Constitution and the verbiage to fit so that they would not be impeached. You have to understand that he does this all the time, and he did advise on how to impeach Bill Clinton for having a premarital affair and then lying about it, and which I don't know.
Lying. Holy shit! If we could attach Donald Trump to a lie detector, and that we could turn every lie generated like an electrical impulse, we could probably like power DC.
Yes,
for a day with his lies.
So, but the only redeeming quality I could find about Bill Barr is he knows how to. You
found a redeeming quality?
He plays bagpipes. The bagpipes. He could probably play Scotland Forever, which on the bagpipes is pretty awesome.
I have so many things I could go to. He's full of hot air. That makes sense. He looks like a bagpipe. I mean, and then he's not even Celtic descent, so that kind of pisses me off a little bit. He's like kirching in on my shit.
No, he's got some Irish in him.
Does he? I thought he was mostly Italian.
I'm telling you, the rabbit holes I went down studying for this thing was terrible. He was a Reagan era. Part of the Reagan era culture war, and the thing with that,
he was stricter drug sentences, which would clamp down on minorities. He started the big push against immigrants and Hispanics, Latinx community members. This guy's a real
persecution of unwed mothers by keeping away any type of social funding that would help them provide for their child or themselves. He was the originator of part of the compassionate conservative movement. He champions the imprisoning and the extra harsh sentencing for poor and non-white people.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Bill Barr, and this is him on the record.
And he believes in unitary executive power.
Oh yeah,
which means that the president can do anything he wants above the law, like we talked about a king.
He believes more that we should have a king than a president. And as Murray and I have talked about before, every 4 to 8 years, we have a complete regime change in the United States.
It's just called an election.
And it blows the shit up all over the place. And then we have to sit there and try to clean it up. And it doesn't work out very well for a lot of us, especially if you're poor or non-white. So, Murray, wrapping it up, Murray and I are working on
a couple of things. One, we're going to talk a little bit more about polling and what happened with this next debate and some of the snags and snafus. Thanks, Yang Gang. We appreciate you bringing that to our attention to look into why there were no polls and there were no bumps then from the second debate. So thank you for the third debate.
But here, Murray, the debate. We're making this on the 13th. Tomorrow is another debate, January 14th. We will have no people that aren't white on the stage. We'll have 2 hardcore progressives and 3 centrists.
And Heidi and I are going to go into that. We'll give you a little information about the debate in our next show, but for the most part...
We couldn't be more disappointed with just 5 people making the stage because we ourselves donated to people to try to get them on the debate stage. We're not going to say who because we've officially taken no position, but they're not there, are they?
No.
So one of the people I donated to is there, and it's not Bernie.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that next on our next show, and we're also going to talk about how it would be really interesting to figure out where we are as a country and what we can do with the election to do that.
Yeah, I've gone over and over again. I'm done voting for a double white male ticket. I'm over it. Please don't do that to me again. Please.
So we will be back with you on Wednesday. And then we will have a big to-do this weekend. So please like,
Women's March,
subscribe, share, help us spread the message and spread the word at Heartland Mamas.
MAMAS.com. Remember, every time you subscribe to one of our channels, it helps us to pay the bills, and we appreciate that.
Have a great day.
Take care now. Bye-bye.